Thanks, guys, for logging on and joining myself and Patter. I'm JP Crilly from Welltel, and I'll be talking you through the internet products with ourselves, and then I'll hand you over to Patter, who will introduce you to the SIP voice product in Welltel. So I'll begin now. Reliability. So Welltel is a multi-network operator. We have interconnects with various tier 1 and tier 2 carriers in Ireland in our 2 data centers, otherwise known as POPs, points of presence. Data center 1 is BT Telecity in City West, and number 2 is Interaction in Park West. The circuits that we're going to focus on, or the internet type that we're going to focus on today, is dedicated internet, and that's delivered over 2 mediums, which is wireless and fiber. I'll touch on the other types of internet as well, such as fiber to the cabinet, otherwise known as VDSL as well, which would be a residential product with no SLA as such. So genuine fiber optic. Why is that? Why would we say genuine? Because I think everyone gets bombarded these days with fiber. Everyone wants fiber and wants fast broadband. There's various different marketing ploys out there at the moment, such as fiber powered. Another product is called e-fiber, which would be productized by a telecoms provider. These essentially wouldn't be genuine fiber optic. It can be delivered over coax cable or else over copper phone lines. So it's genuine fiber optic internet connectivity is what we're talking about today. So the first thing is it's reliable. So when you're going to invest in a genuine internet connection, that's going to be from €500 per month, depending on your location and speed. It has to be reliable. It's guaranteed speed. So if it's 100 megabits, it's 100 megabits up and down, and not shared with any other business in the area. It's if you're using the Welltel connection and you then decide to use voice over IP or SIP trunking with Welltel, for example, that voice will be prioritized with quality of service QoS and won't touch the public internet at all. So it's a direct route into our data centers, which terminate on our voice switches, not touching the public internet, to guarantee clear voice quality. You may want to slice and dice this as well with VLANs and the video conferencing and different things like that, and that's all doable. Back to the 100 meg speed up and down again, if that's what the connection is that you would have ordered, it'll be delivered on a gigabit circuit, so it can be scaled up to a faster speed if needs be. And over the last few weeks, that's been something that has been required by many businesses, such as people having to move home for remote working. The person sitting at home in their house using their residential broadband at home, they need to be able to access the servers in the office. So they're actually coming in over that internet connection. And a lot of businesses have had to increase the bandwidth to allow for this, and also to make it more stable as well. Maybe they didn't have a 4-hour SLA type of broadband that was guaranteed, and they've moved to that now because they needed to. I've one particular customer of mine where he is the MD of the business and he just couldn't get decent broadband, and obviously he didn't have time to be waiting for the national broadband plan to be rolled out. So he invested in 100 meg up and down dedicated fiber optic delivered into his comms cabinet in his home office. And he was crying out for that daily on the phone, looking for updates on it. But he got it in fairly lively for him, thank God. If we move on to if I touch on the XDSL there, I wasn't really talking about that, but that's the alternative, which is a lower end broadband. It's fiber. You may have heard fiber to the cabinet. It's been productized by another telecoms operator, calling it e-fiber. Again, it's fiber to the cabinet, and then into the premises is delivered in copper. Essentially, it is tied to the local exchange, and any other business that would be using broadband, the same type of broadband product within that exchange, would be fighting for the bandwidth. So it's a shared service. There's the SLA you're reliant on is essentially the copper phone line, PSTN copper phone line at the end of the day, which is up to 4 days. It can be fixed if it's down. Then the wireless broadband. So some people are not really fond of wireless, or they rather fiber. I've had very good experiences with wireless. It's an antenna on the roof. It's looking for the nearest high site. But essentially it is backhauling onto the fiber backbone network. So it's one or two hops of wireless that does terminate eventually on the fiber optic backbone. The same SLA applies for wireless as it does for the fiber internet connection. It's handed off the exact same way in your comms cabinet in your office. And we would hand that off on a Juniper SRX. The prices they start from 500 per month. The important word is from there. It really depends on your location and what speed you're looking for. And the more remote you are in Ireland, you can be sure that the fiber connection is going to be more expensive, and possibly the wireless might be a cheaper option there. But yeah, it really does depend on the location and the speed that you're looking for. And now I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Peadar McMahon, who will talk you through the SIP voice product with Welltel.
Lovely, thanks for that, JP. So SIP, I suppose just to kind of give an example of what SIP is. Companies are used to having copper lines come into your building, and that's how your phone lines come in, and that's how calls have been made since we all started using them. SIP is different. It's hosted in a data center, so it's kind of slightly hard for people to get their head around sometimes. So SIP is in the data center, so you need an internet connection to get to it. So going back to kind of what JP was saying about having two internet connections, for failover, SIP works on that basis as well. So if you're connecting over a connection and it goes down, SIP will fail over to your second connection. So you'll very robust solution. So the compatibility there is the first thing on it, and we come across some customers who have large legacy systems and just don't want to do a whole rip and replace, just don't have the budget at the moment. So we can adapt older systems to give SIP. There's a bit of technology involved, but we've done it. If you're using hosted, you're already using SIP, like the Welltel 360 is built on a SIP network, and that's how it works. The next big development we're quite excited in Welltel about is the integration with Teams. So Welltel are currently working with an interconnect with Microsoft, and this will connect to your Teams app on the desktop and it'll give you a fully working soft phone solution. It's a ready-made home remote working solution. So normally people with Teams, they're used to calling people internally within their own organization, video calls, voice calls, chat. We plug into it, Welltel plug in, and then that allows you to use that as a soft phone, so you can ring any telephone number and the caller then either get your company's main number displayed or your direct dial number. So that's kind of an exciting product we're bringing to the market very shortly. The next item there is flexible numbers. This is a feature that always kind of surprises customers that we can do it. So it's really for companies who are dealing with overseas companies. They can rent a number in that country for €10 a month. So we apply it to your SIP account. So if you're dealing with someone, say, on the East Coast of the States, we can give you like a New York number. The companies then just dial that. It's delivered onto your phone system. So they, it's not costing them anything, or just a local call, and you're only paying for the rent of it, so it's great. People use it for European numbers as well. If you're dealing with French companies, we can point it to your system and you can have your auto attendant, in French for them as well, so it's a nice little add-on solution. Business continuity, I kind of just touched on there. That's really, if you have a copper connections into your building and there's a problem, your calls are down. But with SIP, because it's hosted, you can just, your internet connection goes down, it fails over. It's great for companies who we have on SIP who are moving, because all we have to do is just move the hardware. The lines are already, it doesn't matter where the lines are once we have an internet connection. Now, line rationalization. This is a service that we offer to all our customers who we move to SIP. It's basically looking at your current lines. Technician will go through the list of lines you're paying for, whoever you're paying it to, see if they're connected to anything, are they being used, because customers are always worried about cancelling lines in case it's connected to a lift or an alarm or something like that, so moving to SIP really gives customers a fresh start. And the line rationalization, it basically brings me nicely on to the next point of saving money, because obviously if you're cancelling lines, you're saving money on it. So it can be quite substantial savings by moving to SIP. It gives it always gives us a great return on investment story when dealing with customers, because we're looking at what they're paying. So an example I did recently was a small customer, I think he's about 20 users, but he has 6 ISDN lines. So his rental alone is €195 a month, just for the pleasure of having the lines, it's before I make any calls. So his calls were about 180 a month. So with the SIP solution, that drops down to €202 a month. And it actually gives him more lines because the SIP, he was working with 12, this gives him 16. And it gives them an annual saving then of €2,000. So, we look at solutions over a 3-year period. So, that's a six grand saving over 3 years, which is more than enough to pay for any upgrade for a company of that size. And if we just move on then to the last slide, then what we can do is this gives you quite a technical diagram, but this is how our SIP is built in the exchange. So it's done over 2 data centers. So you can see one kind of in the bottom middle of the picture and one on the top right then. So they're the 2 data centers that JP mentioned, BT Telecity in City West and Interaction then in Park West. So if we have a problem with our SIP, we fail over, so you're not just failing over yourself, we have it as well. And then if you look at the kind of cloud, you can see all our different interconnects there. But really, that's just to show you who we're connected to. But people, I think when we mentioned VoIP, people had some people had a bad experience. They were trying to use a very slow broadband for all their data and all their voice. But SIP is different now. We give it, not to get too technical, but we it's covered. It has its own bit of bandwidth to make the call. So regardless of what's going on internet use, the voice circuit part is always kind of protected for bandwidth. So that's really just I think just the last slide is we can just move to that is the questions and answers.
Just Q&A. There's a little Q&A box there that you can type any questions that you may have into it. So we'll give that a minute or two.
So what you're mentioning, JP, about wireless connections, I had a customer on, and just going back to what people are saying, they prefer fiber, but really the licensed wireless product, it really is like what they call it, fiber in the sky. It's really resilient. So it's just getting people's minds around it. Really, that it's not fiber to the cabinet, but licensed wireless.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, it depends. People just have the fiber in their head, but when it comes down to possibly the price as well, when you're looking at 100 megs up and down, and it may be cheaper to go on the licensed wireless.
True. Yeah.
Same SLA.
4 hours, 365 days a year. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions coming up there. Well, anyway, we'll contact anyone who's on this. Just your account manager will give you a follow-up call, and if you have any questions, you can go through it one by one.
You have myself and Patter's email address there on the screen. Please feel free to get in touch.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys.